Alrighty guys, so this week we've been looking at the art of Ted Harrison and those cool Arctic landscapes. We learned that he's from Canada and he lived way up north in what sometimes they call the Arctic or the Yukon, where it's very cold but also very beautiful. And he became very famous for painting these bright, colorful, beautiful landscapes. And so I am going to show you guys a project using probably the most unused crayon in your crayon box, which is this white crayon. And what we're going to do, it's actually going to be really hard to see, but what we're going to do, if you take a look at this one that I did for a different project, you can see all these white lines. What I'm going to be doing is drawing those lines but with the white crayon. So it's okay if you watching on the video can't see those lines yet. You will get to see them in just a little bit. Oh my goodness, my crayons just keep breaking today. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to color really dark, which is why my crayons keep breaking, because I'm pushing really hard, because I want to make these really nice curved white lines. You don't want to just draw lines, you really want to push hard like I'm pushing hard, and color really dark, because the next step that we're going to do works out best if we push nice and hard. So I'm going to go over these lines multiple times so that they're nice and dark. Do some more wavy lines. Some more wavy shapes. I think those overlapped a little. Oh well. There we go. Just realized I'm holding my paper a little bit backwards than what I wanted, but that's okay. I think it'll still work out just fine. Okay, so now what I have is a whole bunch of white crayon lines. Now, the next supply I'm going to use is liquid watercolors, but you can use a regular watercolor tray, or if you don't have watercolors, this actually works with regular water-based markers. Don't use Sharpie. Sharpie doesn't work and it'll ruin your Sharpie. So don't use permanent markers. Use washable water-based markers like just a regular Crayola or Rose Art, Crayon Art. All of those will work just fine. But today, just for fun, I decided to pull out the watercolors to change it up a little bit. Okay, so then all you gotta do is to use watercolors, right? You have to add water. And even liquid watercolors need to add water because liquid watercolors are very bold. And if you don't add enough water, they will be way too bold. And all you want to do is just start painting your paper, and you can start to see where I colored with those white crayons. The watercolor is kind of like pooling up and puddling up and staying away. We call that wax resist because crayons are made out of wax and they resist the water. Wax and water don't mix, kind of like oil and water don't mix. They don't like to be next to each other. So when water touches the waxy crayons, it repels or tries to stay away. And so for this project, I'm mostly using the cool colors, so blue, purple, and green. But I might add in touches of the warm colors if I think my painting needs it as I go along. And it's okay if your colors blend a little bit. That's kind of the fun part of using watercolors, is how they kind of bleed together and make other beautiful colors. And don't worry if your color is not showing up right away, or if your white crayon isn't showing up right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the watercolors to kind of dry and go away from the crayon. And then as it dries, the crayon will appear more. So you can see here, it's not showing up very good right now, but it will. Just have faith, be patient, it'll work. So I'm gonna just keep using, oop, actually that's kind of beautiful. Happy mistake. I'm going to add, I think, a little yellow. Yeah, needs a little yellow here and there. And usually Ted Harrison has a sun somewhere in his painting. A lot of his paintings are centered around that bright sun poking through. So I think my painting does need a little bit of yellow just to add that extra bright, beautiful color. We're just going to keep going all the way to the edges and all the way to the bottom. And then I think we are done. Then you just need to let that dry, and then you can go ahead and cut out some polar bears or some snow, and you can add those right over top. I think, like I said, I did my paper the opposite direction, so it's gonna fit a little bit better this direction. My polar bears will fit on here a little bit better this way. But you can go ahead and add those polar bears to your final design, and it will be a beautiful polar bear painted landscape.